You must have been a Minecraft guy, or are
No.
you young enough that you were a Roblox kid?
Oh no, what?
You kind of carry yourself like
I'm
a
like,
Roblox
I'm
kid.
like 1 year younger than you.
In my head, you're still that 22-year-old kid
Oh
on,
no.
on a on.
No, go no further.
Driving. I'm
No.
trying to remember the car. Was it like a Nissan Rogue? What were
Oh
we up
no.
to?
I don't know what we were up to back in those
No, it
days.
was a Rav4. It was a
Yeah.
Rav4 is what we were cooking in.
What you think I rap for, you know?
John, when we hit 100,000 subs, when we get the tile for the background, like when we get the plaque, you're gonna have to spit, because I know you definitely were a high school, middle school kid that was spitting on the low.
Question: do we get 2 tiles, plaques? Or is it just gonna be one?
What's so sad is I looked this up and we can get 2.
Oh really? Okay, good.
Yeah, this is like this is like this is as sad, but actually sadder is like if like a middle school Nick was like, what are like typing into GPT, what's the odd I can make it to the NBA? It's like, kid, it's not happening,
But that would have been great. Yeah, I wasted so many of my years of my life thinking that I was going to be an NFL football player. And
did you really?
Yes, and then when I got to high school and I weighed 95 pounds, it was quite the awakening. So if I would have loved to have been able to search that.
John, you know what? For what it's worth, that is painful, but I'll be the first to admit that you're an athletic guy. Okay, people might not put respect on your name, but I'm out here preaching the good word.
I really do appreciate that, and I hope I can pass it on to future generations.
Yeah, we gotta. Well, how tall is Jazz? We gotta get you a tall girl, some meat on the bones. We gotta get the next generation.
Yeah, they're not gonna be tall.
Over 195. That's the weight we're looking for.
Well, they won't be tall. We can count on that.
It's tough.
Let's get into it.
Do we want to rip it? Do we want to chop this up?
Go ahead.
Hello and welcome to No One Can Hear You Pod, the world's first and only movie podcast. I'm Nick Lydon.
I'm John McKitchen.
Okay,
I know. But I was so taken by you in that moment.
Thank you.
When you watch the video back and see yourself, you're going to be like,
he needs to stop. Someone needs to end this guy.
No.
All right. In today's episode, we will be discussing the 2007 action blockbuster Transformers. So if you've seen it recently and you want to talk to someone about it and you don't have anyone to talk about it with because who's watching this movie, or on the off chance you're a total weirdo and you're seeing this for the first time, we're here for that purpose. We're here to break down the movie, talk about it a little bit, our favorite parts, some of the production, and just everything about Transformers. Michael Bay.
You know what I'll say? If you have watched it for the first time, I applaud you. But Nick, we got to start thinking differently, man. 2007 is a long ways away at this point. We're in 2025. You can do the math. I can't.
I don't know. 2025, Nick, is just fully. I'm closed-minded. I'm a no longer growth mindset in any way.
Fair enough. But what if someone's watched this for the first time and they're stumbled upon what we might consider, a great action movie? We might come to the end of this episode and be able to give them that seal of approval that this is a great action movie that they should recognize. So
what do you think that person looks like? And I'll say that we're obviously going to get into this in a second. But do you think for the person that's watching this for the first time, are they like on an island off of Sri Lanka and they're like, all right, I've heard some chatter about this online, but no one's talking about it?
Well, like one of those uncontacted tribes?
Yeah, like Sentinel Island. Yeah, some dude is in a canoe just bringing Transformers over, which is not unbelievable. If you read that in a headline, I would absolutely believe that someone is up to that.
That would be like a funny bit or like a funny skit if like you're like it's like a podcast host that like somehow like their content just like no one's listening except for like one tribe in Senegal, so like everything they say like becomes like super important, like they're like changing these people's lives.
Yeah, it's like Severance with Rickon's book that all the
right exactly. Yeah.
All right, back on track though. So John and I we start every episode going over what we've watched recently that we've liked the most or have had a strong reaction to. But before we get into that, we do have chapters in the description, so feel free to jump ahead to when we discuss Transformers and what our initial thoughts were, some of the sequences and categories around that. But before we get to that, John, what have you watched recently?
Two I want to talk to you about is Princess Mononoke.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. I thought it was great, man. I think it's the second best. I think I told you this already, but it was the second best of the Ghibli films I've seen so far. So I think I've only seen 7 of the, maybe there's 12 or something. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Spirited Away is a little bit better to me, but this was really, really good. Like the art in this one is really incredible. Like I've appreciated it in the other ones. Like I really appreciate it. And even like Ponyo, I was like, wow, this is incredible. But this one is really like on another level of like how beautiful that art is. like I was like genuinely moved just by like how it looked. I was like, wow, this is next level. So I get why there's so much hype. This man is the truth. I will definitely confirm that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the weird thing about it is like there's so many like obviously it's like very spiritual and there's like literally spirits all about them, but like the animation that I remember most vividly is like even when he's riding his like antelope horse through the grass, the movement of the grass and the wind is like so striking. Everything they do with that is so fluid, it's crazy.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, unbelievable.
What did you think? Sorry, I was going to ask a question about it definitely has more like it doesn't have the traditional Western story structure, I feel like, where like there's not really like a clear bad like villain like we would normally have, and kind of even the quote unquote bad guys are the people searching for the spirit gods.
Well, I think it's that lady.
Right? They're doing it for a reason, though.
Isn't it like that lady who she's like the queen? She's bad. She gets her arm chopped off. You know?
Yeah, but at the same time, isn't she like providing shelter for all these women? Like she essentially is running a woman's home, and she's like, "This is just going to be the bag for us for a bit."
No, I was thinking about it, and it's fresher on my mind. But then at the end, she doesn't go back for them. You know, like she leaves them to die, basically. So like the question you're asking is like what I was thinking out throughout is like, is she actually good or bad? Is she the villain? Whatever. But I think she is probably a villain because she's the one who has to pay the price at the end.
Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it is interesting to think about that as like a Western. I actually hadn't even really thought about that.
Did you see my review on Letterboxd? Or I saw you liked it, but it just reminded me of the chick that gives him like the necklace at the beginning, and she's like, just don't ever forget us, please. And like instantly he gives it away. The first thing he does is give it away.
Yeah, then I'm like, wait, was that like his sister or something? Like there was just nothing. Like she got totally left in the dust.
So wrong for that.
See, the other one I was going to mention is going to be too long. People want us to get into Transformers, But I wanted to tell you about. I've been watching some Wes Anderson, so maybe we'll say that for another time. But I watched Henry Sugar and the Darjeeling Limited.
Darjeeling Limited.
Yeah. I actually really like the Darjeeling Limited. It's kind of more like a Bottle Rocket vibe, and I did like it.
That's one of the few I have not seen of his. That might be the only one I haven't seen.
You should watch it. I think it's pretty good. That's Adrian Brody. Yeah, it's good.
The Henry Sugar one, the short movie, is fantastic though. I thought that was really incredible.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know how to rate them like individually or as a whole, but it's another. I don't want to go off on another tangent. Tell me what you have been watching recently.
Okay, so I'm actually cheating for the first time on this because I'm not talking about a movie. I'm talking about a show.
Oh,
but it feels almost like a long form movie, which is Adolescence. And I texted you about that. I don't know. Have you seen anything of it yet? Do you know much about it?
No. My girlfriend was watching it. Jazz was watching it, but I didn't join in yet.
Okay. So, I mean, quick summary, and I won't spoil anything that isn't immediately in the first 5 minutes of the show, but it is about a 13-year-old in a small English town that is accused of murdering another 13-year-old. And it's not even really like a crime procedural. Like it's not like or like a courtroom drama. Like it's not to be too spoilery, but it's kind of clear he did it like from the get-go. Anyway, it tackles a lot of like the obvious stuff of like we just assume innocence when we have young children involved with good reason. It's like very benevolent. But like, what are kids nowadays aware of and what are they not aware of, maybe in an empathetic sense because of all the stuff that they do see. Honestly, it was just really incredible. It's only four episodes. They're about like an hour a pop, 50 minutes a pop. The kid in it, the lead, like the 13-year-old, it's like his first time acting on any sort of like film or television. And he's unbelievable. But so it's really about like cyberbullying and failures of the education system or some like more like surface level stuff, but really like at its core it's about how a lot of adolescent boys are exposed to like what it's calls the quote unquote manosphere and like the red pill sort of like incel-y vibe. It's really fascinating, but like definitely harrowing. Like it makes me really think about, I mean, I'm not close to having kids, but how would I police that sort of stuff, like what they're exposed to? Because to an extent, I mean, you just can't stop them. Like you and I both grew up on this stuff. Our parents couldn't have stopped us from like being exposed to what's on the internet.
I thought you were about to say really made me think. I got to stop watching the Andrew Tate podcast. Maybe it's
it made me question my Patreon subscription to him.
No, I should check that out. I saw that you could log it on Letterboxd, so that really ups the possibility of me watching it. I'm all about keeping track of stuff.
I almost thought it would detract because it's sort of like a statistical misnomer or outlier to have a television series on your letterbox,
No, I'm
And I
okay
thought
with
that
it.
would bother you.
I make a few exceptions. I can't make it 5 stars. Like even if I feel like it is, it just wouldn't feel right. Like I can't sit with the 5-star film. So I have a
Okay.
couple things. This is a whole other thing too.
Yeah, no
We
surprise
could do
you
a
thought
whole
about it.
episode on that one. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get into Transformers. So, initial thoughts, John, what did you think?
I thought you were gonna say Autobots assemble. I thought
I
that's how you're
should
gonna.
have.
Yeah.
I wish I was that smooth.
What did I think? I really enjoyed it. There's just so much great stuff. Like there's a line in there where they say robots in disguise. And I'm like, like from the commercial, the robots in disguise. It's like stuff I probably wasn't thinking about when I was younger. Yeah, no, I remember the trailer. I remember seeing it in theater. It just was such a meaningful movie to me. Now rewatching it in like through a critical lens, that's what maybe we can talk more about later. But like, when it finished, I was like, wow, that was great. I'm glad I got to rewatch that. That was fun. What about you?
I felt very similar. I was honestly a little concerned. I think there's a lot of those summer blockbusters from like our childhood that don't always age well, and some of them that age surprisingly well, at least compared to like what the blockbuster market looks like in today's Hollywood. But overall, like yeah, taking off my critic hat and just like what was the experience? I thought it was really good. I liked it. I do think it definitely suffers from not being viewed in a theater. Like this type of movie, I think as much as you could say, I don't know, like you should be in the right headspace for like a certain type of drama and really watch it super intently. It's like this movie, like the metaphor would be like, you should see this in the biggest screen possible in the loudest room possible. Like that's how it was intended to be. So, but I totally remember seeing this in, I think it was middle school for me. And it was like, clearly the biggest thing anyone was talking about. I will say, I think it's funny. You can already see like, the stuff that Michael Bay is going to get clowned on and probably already has been clowned on at this point a bit for, which like most notably would be like explosions, the supermodel female protagonist that doesn't have much actually in way of a script, the lens flares, the slow-mo, being American as hell. But like, I actually don't think it's not, I don't think it's like some caricature level of those things yet. In this movie, I think it's actually like, and most of those are done, barring the scripting for like the female lead, I think are actually done really well. Like I think the explosions are like actually they feel concussive and real compared to so many movies that come out now. Where I don't know. I mean, and I like Marvel movies, but like some of the explosions in some of those movies, like there's just no like actual weight behind them, so you're not actually worried about what they'll do or mean. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit in the weeds on it, but anyways, I did really like it.
No, I agree with you. And like, do you remember like how much Michael Bay was clowned? And it's like, and rewatching it, I was like, he didn't deserve it so much. And maybe it got worse, and I'm sure it got worse.
I think it did.
And that's fine, but like, in something like this, like, I think he did a pretty good job. He was excited about using like military weapons and making a big blockbuster movie. It's like, what else are you gonna do than do big, big explosions? Like, what would be the point if you weren't gonna do that?
Yeah, and I totally agree with that point.
Yeah.
And I also think it's one of those like it's so easy to take for granted that it was ultimately successful. Like if you want to again say like artistically, is this Citizen Kane? Obviously not, but like given that this was like a children's cartoon series and then like a big toy like merchandising platform, the fact that he made a movie that was successful enough narratively and entertaining that they made, the total box office for this series is 5.4 billion.
It's
I want to
insane.
say.
Yeah.
So I think it's easy to write that part off, but you can't forget like how much people were like, is this going to even work before it came out?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I can get into some stats because it's a lot of like what we just talked about with box office
let's
stuff.
do it.
Okay. So let me hit you with the Letterboxd stats first. So it's got a surprising 3.2 rating on Letterboxd. It's watched by 1.1 million. I think the community is dropping the ball a bit here. Let me give you the description. Their war, our world. Young teenager Sam I can't say his name. Witwicky becomes involved in the ancient struggle between two terrestrial factions of transforming robots, the heroic Autobots and the evil Decepticons. Sam holds the clue to unimaginable power, and the Decepticons will stop at nothing to retrieve it. Like you mentioned, it had a $151 million budget, $709 million box office. It was the fifth highest grossing film of 2007. It's pretty impressive.
It's actually surprising it was the fifth highest.
Yeah, you think it'd be more, but I think this one definitely did good for him, like with that 700. But then he just did it consistently for like 4 other more. So,
Hmm.
but I'll get you to a crazy stat in here in a second. You know, it got nominated for 3 Academy Awards.
Can I guess?
Yeah, but can I give you 4 and you guess which one it isn't nominated for? Is that more fun?
Sure. Okay.
Best visual effects, best film editing, best sound editing, best sound mixing. Which one is not the one it got nominated for?
I think video has to be one of the ones it was nominated for. I
Okay.
would, so I'd say video or video effects. I would say sound or, I'm going to say editing is the one that it was not nominated
Hey,
for.
you got it. You got it.
Okay.
Yeah, not editing.
That's
Yeah,
a
so
little too prestigious for this movie.
yeah, so visual effects, sound editing, and sound mixing. I think they don't do that split category anymore, right? With the sound editing and sound mixing. I
I
think
don't
they
think
do.
so.
Yeah. Let me hit you some. Yeah, I'll hit you with some facts. So it's actually not the first Transformers movie. So there's an animated one in 1986 that did technically hit theaters. So I didn't know that. That was interesting. First 5 of these movies are directed by Michael Bay. First 3 have Shia LaBeouf. First 2 have Megan Fox, and last 2 have Mark Wahlberg. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it in my brain. Now I know there's more after that. There's like the Rise of the Beast, which I think you've seen. I wanted to ask you about that one, and then there's like a Bumblebee movie. But I think in like the 5 Michael Bay ones, that's kind of how you can break them down. What do you
Yeah.
think of that new one?
Yeah, I think it wasn't Transformers 1. That was the CG one.
Right.
The one I'm thinking of was the one with the animals in it.
Yeah, it was like Rise of the Beasts or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, unwatchable, really, was kind of my takeaway. I thought it was so bad. Yeah, I couldn't really stomach it. I mean, again, like maybe that sort of movie I could watch if it was like in a movie theater. I tried watching it at home once and I just found it pretty terrible. Oh gosh, I can't remember what the name of the lead actor in that one even was. It's one of the Hamilton guys. He was in The Heights. But anyway, I thought it was terrible. I really do think it's these OG ones that like had some merit to them still and weren't just like fully coasting by on the franchise name at that point. I mean, I guess, it was IP before it got made, but like the first movie was enough to warrant it being a trilogy.
Yeah.
And anyway, yeah, I think that these ones are way better than the new ones.
Did you make it through the Mark Wahlberg ones? I don't think I ever saw them. I didn't see the 4th or 5th one.
I didn't even see those movies.
I know I saw the first 3, and I think I saw all 3 of them in theaters.
We are here to talk about Transformers, the 2007 movie, with zero context, cinematically or otherwise. It's one movie that we're discussing today.
Yeah, exactly. They should keep me on track. So let me give you something about Michael Bay. So there's plenty of reasons to be out on Michael Bay right now. He's not had a great run outside of the movies. Actually, in February 2025, he got arrested for breaking into the Vatican.
Is that a thing? I was not aware of this. Why was he trying to get in there?
I don't know. I read into it a little bit. It seems like there was something, but it's probably not worth talking about.
Okay.
I just thought that was funny. He's got all kinds of allegations of misconduct from like people who've worked with him. So I think a lot of people have heard
sexual misconduct.
Like more like the way. Actually, no, I can't even speak on this. I don't know enough. But it seems to me it's more like the way he treats his actors on set than like he like assaulted somebody.
Got it.
But I don't know. I can't even speak to this. I'm just saying, like Michael Bay, everyone's a little out on him right now. And I think the other thing that's pretty easy to look at is like there are some like racially insensitive characters in his film. He definitely
absolutely. We're gonna touch on that.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
That's on the way.
So I'll pause on that. But what I didn't know is like where was he at before this movie? And I actually have the note. I didn't realize how hot he was before this movie, but I mean it as like a hot director. So Bad Boys in 95, The Rock in 96, Armageddon in 98, Pearl Harbor in 01, Bad Boys 2 in 03, and then something called The Island in 05. So I was like, oh, okay, this guy was like, he was already doing it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. But the real big stat that I wanted to give you is, did you know that he is the fourth highest grossing director worldwide? Like,
no, I did not know that.
Is that insane? And could you guess 1 through 3 or just take a quick stab at it? Who would be ahead of him?
Is Spielberg up there?
Spielberg's number 1.
Okay, and then probably the Russos.
They're number 3. That's pretty good. I don't think I would have gotten that.
And then number 2, shit. Can you give me a hint?
He doesn't make a ton of movies, but when he does, they're like sellouts. They're big bangers.
I mean, it can't be. There's no way it's Tarantino. It's not. I don't know. Who's number 2?
James Cameron. Yes,
Oh,
Titanic.
fuck, I should have known. Oh, that's
He's
so
got
dumb.
Titanic, and he's got two Avatars, and
That's
like,
embarrassing. Yeah, I should
but
have known
but
that.
so Spielberg's like $10 billion in box office revenue. This is worldwide. Cameron's like 8.8 billion. Russo brothers like 6.8. Michael Bay 6.7, like 6.6 or 6.7. So like that's insane. I just didn't think of him in that category, but I guess he's the blockbuster director.
So you know what's hilarious about you bringing that up is I was looking up the voice actors for Optimus and Megatron, and the voice actor for Megatron, who neither of us know by name.
No, I got him up here actually.
Okay.
Peter Cullen. Peter Cullen. He voiced him in the. Megatron. Sorry, that Peter
Megatron's
Cullen.
Frank Welker.
Yeah, okay. Peter Cullen was Optimus Prime.
Frank Welker is the like for box office actors, including cameos and voice acting. He's the fourth highest pay or like box office actor in the history of the world.
Jeez.
It's crazy. It's just from how many, like he's been in 850 movies. His box office gross is 17.4 billion. Jeez. And it's like he's not a person either of us are aware of. So it's just to say it is really fascinating. There's such like a mini world in the voice acting community.
Oh, I know.
But these guys are so prolific and have been for like decades.
Oh, and I was thinking about this when I was watching Princess Mononoke, like how tough it is to be a voice actor. Like you think it's like, oh, that's just mailing it in, but no, that's like seems like a tough job.
For sure. Well, actually, did you watch that? Was it dubbed or subbed?
Oh, I was watching it with dub. And I think it's great. Like Billy Bob Thornton's
they take it really
it,
seriously. He's awesome in that movie.
Billy Crudup is yeah. So, but there may be one more thing. I'm gonna turn it over to you. I think I'm taking way more time with this intro. But I was thinking about like, is this the first movie about toys like that became a big success? Did you do any research about this?
I did a little bit of research. Yeah, it wasn't. Well, I'll let you touch on it.
Yeah. So where I landed on it is technically no, but it's definitely the big one that like kicked it into that next echelon, you know? So there was other ones based on like board games and trading cards. Like Clue came out in 85, that obviously based off a board game. Mars Attacks was based off a 1962 trading card that came out in 96. There was a Dungeons and Dragons movie in 2000. And there's a ton of like American Girl doll movies, if you want to count those, you know? It's like, so it had been done before, but this in 07, this really kicked it into that next gear, you know?
Well, and I think it's interesting to talk about that point in particular, because I think there's been a lot of discourse post Barbie about how IP is like sweeping Hollywood, and it's all about, I mean, like, I don't know if you've watched the show The Studio at all, but I think you would like it with Seth Rogen. It's really just like the whole show is from the point of view of a studio executive and how cynical that can be. But anyway, everything is very IP heavy, right? And we were just talking about Minecraft earlier and how huge that's been. And people are talking about it in a very recent sense. But, this movie's 18 years old. And like you said, it wasn't the first instance of direct IP being ripped onto the silver screen. Granted, it was one of the bigger ones. But either way, it's like, okay, this is something that's been going on for quite a long time. It's interesting that I guess maybe people just view it as like we're going to another level of like superficialness. Like at least there was a television series that they could pull from narratively, whereas Barbie was pretty plainly just dolls, and Minecraft doesn't really have a story. But in some ways it's like this has been going on for a long time. I mean, even directly with Minecraft, you can think of the Lego movie. Like there's no narrative to Legos, but they made one for that movie and it was a huge success. They did a bunch of spin-offs with the Batman version of it. So it's been going on for a long time. Yeah, and
there's more interesting history about this if you read into it. Like they wanted to do G.I. Joe first. Like they've been trying to do this, and then they signed like a 5 movie deal with like some of the like Hasbro or Mattel or whatever. And then like some would bomb, some would do well. Like the Lego movie brought them back. Like it's actually interesting if people want to read into that. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so those are some of the notes I had. I mean, one of the notes is that really this movie started with Steven Spielberg. I don't know if you came across that. So he was actually the one who like put Michael Bay in the position and like shaped up more of like a human story, not just a toy story. So Spielberg's kind of the spearhead. And then I think the reason Michael Bay got into it is because he's like, oh, I can use real military weapons. Like I can make like a real cool. So those are like 2 other notes I had. But with that, I'll turn it over to you. I know we haven't really talked about the scenes, the movie yet.
Just quickly before I get into that, just because that is an interesting note about Spielberg. And I feel like you can totally feel his thumbprint on the story of this, because I feel like Spielberg is, such a hallmark of his summer blockbusters is there is like real fear, like real danger, right? But at the same time, there's definitely like a beating heart of like hopefulness and like people are ultimately good. And I feel like that's kind of inextricably linked from a lot of his different movies, but I think it's like it really benefits this movie, and it's specifically not really something we see in blockbusters of today. So I can definitely believe that point.
So like when Megan Fox and Shia LaBeouf's hands are like on the dirt and they like touch like that, you think that's Spielberg?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, maybe a little bit of Michael Bay too, trying to imagine he's in Shia LaBeouf's shoes. Who knows? I'm just
aren't we all just out here?
But yeah, getting to the sequences. So this movie, I mean, there's a lot of cutting in this movie, and I don't think it fits neatly into like the sequence format we normally do of like there's this scene and then this scene. Like it is very quickly jumping between the Middle East in Qatar, LA, DC. So and then ultimately it's in Nevada. I believe that is where it is with the Hoover Dam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean it's going all over the place. I will say to its credit, I actually think it does a really credible job of having a pretty big ensemble cast. I mean, how many name brand actors are in this, or at least actors with speaking lines? There's got to be at least, I would say 15, 20, which I wouldn't expect for a movie about robots to be like, yeah, we're going to roll the dice on having this being a sprawling global movie. But, I guess it is a big blockbuster. So they made the swing and they made contact.
Yeah, I mean, there was even known people with like really small parts, Like I was recognizing like random people in it, like the guy from like Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, who's like the maintenance worker, who's always trying to get with the mom. And then there's like a guy from Prison Break, like he's one of those soldiers,
I could have sworn Sam Rockwell was in this movie too, as like a random guy on the news who's like, oh my God, what's happening for 2 seconds? I'm probably wrong, but I think it looked exactly like him.
But there's all kinds of people like that. And then, like Totoro, Bernie Mac, John Voight, Anthony Anderson, like, it's all-star cast. It's
a great cast. We'll get more into that as we move forward. But yeah, so to the sequences, great opening. Obviously the voice acting for Optimus is like A1. He is incredible. And it's really like the series leans more and more on just how good he is with that voice as the series goes on. But we get a little bit of exposition there. What I really like about the opening sequence is when we get to meet Captain Lennox and crew, on the chopper meeting the crew. We don't really get a whole lot out of the other members of the crew, but I think it's like a pretty successful job of like making these people feel human, telling us what the tone of this movie is going to be though too, which is definitely pro-military industrial complex, but also like we're here to joke around and have fun. Like this is not going to be a movie that takes itself seriously, like a Bourne Identity or something like that.
Yeah.
I will say I love the opening fight scene though, of when the Decepticons roll through in the chopper 4500X start just, EMPing the military base. I thought that was an awesome scene.
Yeah. Wait, is that the same scene where like it's like the cliche where he's on like Skype with his wife and then like it's like it's like it's breaking up. I love you. Like oh my God, come on.
Yeah, and of course it's like, I just can't wait to be home with my girls. I love that he's a girl dad. It's a pretty early girl dad performance that we get. And I think it's successful. It's definitely also some shorthand for, let's just make this a very sweet, lovable, red-blooded American soldier, but he's also like a family man.
But what's kind of funny about him though is like I know he comes back and has to go straight to like saving the world, but like he can't pop in, like say what's up. Like the final scene is like him with like seeing his wife and kid for the first time. It's like there was no time, to like.
I think we're to believe that there is no time because he's the only one of the only survivors of the attack, and then they're sent straight to DC, and then he goes straight with the Secretary of Defense. You're really screwing up the order here, John.
I think what I'm really trying to say is he's such a good guy. Should we be singing his praises so early?
That's a great point.
No, I don't know.
Save that for hot takes though.
Sorry.
Is this soldier a bad father? John McKittrick.
I'll go back on mute.
I do love, there's some like great, and it's kind of hard to delineate between what of this is cliche and what of this did Michael Bay make cliche. Yeah. And I'm of the opinion that it's a good 75-25. Like there's a lot of that going on, but I think Michael Bay is like on the Mount Rushmore of military, guys that have these kids. Or we get the line like, that bird was shot down 2 weeks ago. He's like, check it again and then double check. I did, sir. A friend of mine was on that bird. It's like lines like that are so like cornily military, but for whatever, I don't know what Michael Bay does, but I don't hate it for it. It makes me like the movie more because it's such like a time capsule of how we viewed the military, at least in movies at that point.
Oh, there's also like so many lines that I only understand because I played Call of Duty, like I'm like, Oh, sit rep. Yeah, they got sit rep.
Absolutely, I was
Yeah,
thinking of Call of Duty when watching this.
yeah. It's like danger close. I'm like, oh yeah, I would never use that. That was a weak perk, you know.
Yeah, there's clearly an AC-130 in that movie at one point.
I think I said that to Jazz. I'm like, that's AC-130.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, it's pretty crazy in retrospect just how brainwashed they had us. Like, well, maybe brainwashed is a strong word, but we were prepared. Our generation we were given the sort of knowledge we needed through video games to probably quickly uptick on a lot of that.
Yeah, I agree.
We get the Sam Witwicky intro in his history class, which started out, I had this written out and then I had to delete it. Was this about to be the coolest, family history presentation someone's ever given in a high school? Like, it's kind of sick that Archibald Witwicky was like in the Arctic Circle before it was cool.
Yeah,
and then it
so
just
sick.
becomes him hawking his shit, which is a little less cool, Sam Witwicky.
Yeah, I agree. And then the fact that like Michaela doesn't remember that later, she's like, "Oh, I guess we have class guy." I'm like, "No, that's the dude whose great grandfather was the ice explorer." Like,
Captain Archibald.
Yeah, like you're gonna remember him. Yeah.
Here's a take though. Did he even deserve a B- on that presentation? What did he do besides bring in some stuff and then just be like, "You should buy that"? There wasn't any, research or citation. And also this seems like the report given by like a middle schooler at best. Like, this could have been like a fifth grader report.
Nick, that's a great question, but I'd have to see a few other presentations to really see like where he was on the scale, and I think that was probably left on the editing room floor.
No, you're on that curve shit. That's not how my school runs. Okay, you gotta be your own man or woman and bring a good presentation with some sources.
But I see your point. Like, he didn't really what if you don't have any cool family members? Do you get an F?
Yeah, I'm just saying, what was the assignment even? It's
That's
unclear.
What I'm saying.
It's like, is the assignment like, tell us about your family day? Because
right.
What high school class is like, all right, everyone, like, you're just going to bring in a couple little ornaments from your grandparents. It made no sense.
Yeah, and what if no one in your family ever did a thing? So then do you get graded harshly for that? Or is it how good you can present on it? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, my dad was a senior manager at the fifth biggest accounting firm in the country. So you might have heard of him, John McKittrick.
Yeah.
But I will say it's credibly done. I feel like the high school element of some of it, like just how they're interacting, although the jock character is maybe a little much. From there we do get to see Sam buying his car. We got to interact with Bumblebee, and more importantly, we get to meet Bernie Mac, who, it's really a shame he isn't in every scene of this movie, because every single line he has kills.
I know. He just totally takes over that whole scene, and then that's it. Yeah, he is so good. Man, I don't have anything else on him other than that. He's just so good. Yeah.
No, it's a credit to his performance that I really remembered him being a bigger part of the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was only in that scene. It almost makes me think, like, is he in the other movies? And I'm like, that would make no fucking sense that he would be in anything else in this series.
That scene's memorable too, just because it's like the first time the car is like working on its own, like it's opening the doors on its own. Like, that's just a classic.
I do love some of the intros. Like, I'm not going to go through every single shot of it, but like some of the intro stuff when Sam does get the car, like he's in his backyard with his parents. I love his parents' characters, by the way. I think they're really good. But just like driving out, the exhaust blasts out this wave of smoke over the yard. Whoever set that prop to make that wave of smoke, it's incredible. It's so well done.
I think the parents are great. Maybe you'll get to this later, but like when they're arguing about like if he should be grounded or not, and then like he's like, your mom wanted me to ground you, like he's trying to be cool, and
he's like, just another one of the things you did for me, Dad.
Yeah.
I think we have to get to what is the next significant scene, which is the lake scene. And by the lake scene, I mean the Megan Fox is inspecting the engine scene.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, I don't remember any lake.
Yeah, no, you and the rest of America, or at least half of it. The scene of them pulling off the side of the road, there's some interesting stuff going on here. Before we get to the actual iconic shot of it, there's definitely, Sam has some creepy tendencies as a guy. I actually think Shia LaBeouf's best part of this performance, or what he's able to bring as an actor to this, especially at this age, is that he kind of has a creeper part written for him, not in that like he's actually doing anything like too harmful, but like he's like really, really trying to get a girl. And I think it's Shia LaBeouf being like coming off as like hapless and helpless as he is, that it prevents it from coming off as weird as it maybe could. Like I don't know. Did Jazz have any thoughts on this when you guys watched it?
No, we didn't talk about that, but what I was thinking about is like it kind of started with Even Stevens. Like he's just like what that kid from Even Stevens grows up to be, where he's like just he's just kind of pervy and like
a little pervy, but like in a sort of like harmless way.
Yeah,
harmless
exactly.
enough.
Right, exactly. Like it's creepy, but it's not like menacing,
Yeah, and it's like parts of it are relatable enough of like, being at that age in life that you're like, you know what, it's ultimately funny. Shia LaBeouf is charismatic enough for me to enjoy it. But I think if this was in the wrong hands, it could have like really screwed up the movie if it was some kid that actually turned on perv mode,
Oh yeah, and it is funny like when they show up and like Shia LaBeouf's like saying to the friend like, "Don't do anything weird." It's like, oh, he's the weird one, and he immediately starts climbing a tree.
Yeah.
It's like, oh we all know that guy.
I was gonna say this later, but I have him for one of the weaker parts of the movie. I think we could have gotten a better actor into that role. It's also not written great, but I think if we had gotten, I don't know, I don't know a young Dave Franco.
Yeah, I mean,
James Franco.
There's nothing for that character. He literally just climbs the tree, then he gets left at the park. Like that's it.
Honestly, pretty shitty friend move by Shia LaBeouf. But at the same time, I kind of get it. At that point in your life, I think you can pull that card.
No, I think you could too, and I think the friend should understand.
Okay, but we do have the iconic shot of Megan Fox checking out the car. I actually have a couple people, some fans of the pod have asked me to ask you, how important was this shot in your sexual awakening?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I think this car scene shaped a generation of men. I'm going to make a real case for it. I think like Megan Fox became a sex symbol after this movie, the same way Marilyn Monroe did after a 7-year itch, which she had that white dress, fly up with the vent below it. The same way Pam Anderson did when she was running down the beach in Baywatch in the 90s. I think this is our generation's version of that. I think that she became that symbol, and for better or for worse, I know she cited it as being like a struggle in the rest of her career, and I do sympathize for that, where you get typecast into that. But I'm just recognizing the greatness here, and I think for our generation, this was it.
I absolutely agree. I had the same answer too, because I think I was 11 when this movie came out, so obviously still young, but I already had some inclinations of like, oh, this is an interesting, attractive woman. But so I don't remember this as being like an awakening. What I remember it for was how ubiquitous it was amongst all of my peers, plus or minus a couple years, that like every guy was obsessed with this frame and talking about her. And like, especially that like age that you have in middle school where you talk with your friends about like, well, who would you want to like, kiss or whatever, as though there's any shot in hell that you could even talk to a girl, let alone talk to Megan Fox, who's, in her 20s at the time.
Right.
But yeah, it was definitely impactful. And I think I almost question if there's been like, has there been a celebrity with this level of, sex icondom since? Like there's, of course there's continued to be sex icons of men and women since. That'll never stop, but this felt like a local extrema almost.
Yeah, I know, and like what it is also like the age you're at when this movie came out. Like then what happened is like this, when we were freshmen, the seniors were like, it's like when I was a kid going to the community pool, it's like that lifeguard who was like attractive but like was really mean. It's like that's like the kind of girl that Megan Fox is in this movie. So it became like a thing that trickled through the culture.
Yeah. Iconic. I think we can leave it at that.
Yeah.
What else?
To your one more thing on that though. To your question on, I wonder what this generation's version of that is. I don't know. Maybe it's for the best that we don't know. I was just thinking about it. I was like, who is this like in 2025 version of like the awakening for the youth? I'm like, maybe I should just let that go.
I think it's a good sign that we don't immediately.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely like I could think of like the Sydney Sweeney.
That's who I would have said too.
Type.
Yeah.
But I think you're absolutely right. I mean, so much of that is just dictated by like how old were you when you were first exposed to The Contagion, because then it's like you're freeze framed in that spot.
Yeah,
and the rest of your life.
And one more thing on Megan Fox, I remember 2 years later, or 2 years after this. She was in the second one of these movies, right? And then not the third. But then also she was in Jennifer's Body, and I remember I really wanted to see Jennifer's Body, but I was too scared. And I was like, that one urge to see it couldn't outweigh the fear, because they made it seem so scary in that preview. So like I just totally missed out on that one.
Well, John, that's why your blood won't make it through the winter. You know, you have to be. You can't let that fear stop you from seeing Megan's body when you're 9 years old.
Well, I've overcome that fear of horror now. That's why I think
Okay.
I want to see every horror movie ever made now, because I've finally overcome it.
And you associate it. You associate the two.
Yeah, definitely.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to jump ahead here to what I
Go
think
ahead.
is kind of when the movie. We have a solid opening act. I think the movie kind of kicks off once we get the sequence of the Autobots coming to Earth. I think that's when it's like, okay, the game on. I think you can kind of hop through some of those sequences, like with the FBI and in the Pentagon. I love the shots of like them all flying in. I think we might even have some early Linkin Park playing at this point, which is another iconic part of this movie that
In the car
is still memed to this day. Yeah, but I love when we first get them through. Actually, before we get into that too, I also want to say I just love. I think narratively, I kind of misremembered this. You don't get the Autobots until like a fair amount of the way through this movie. I would say maybe halfway through or almost more.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a great choice because it really, as silly as it is to say about this, like, silly 2007 blockbuster, you start to feel you're like, man, these people are really mismatched. There is nothing to fight back against them with. And this is such a good, like, assembling the team sequence.
Well, remind me of this scene because, so this is like the Autobots assemble where you're introducing them all and then he goes through each one. Because for me, where the movie really kicks off, and maybe this is close, like trailing it, is when the Autobots go to his house. For me, that's when the movie really goes in second gear, where they're breaking the plants and they're hiding, and then you get Megan Fox in the room. Like that's the real scene to me that is like I've seen probably that scene 10 times. 10, 15 times.
I would link the two. I'm thinking of like the start of it for me is when you see them as like essentially as asteroids or like comets entering the atmosphere into that sequence. I think is excellent. And I also think like the characters of the Autobots are kind of weirdly more entertaining than a lot of the humans are. Like they're just, well designed and interesting to look at. So I think that's like more fun as a viewer than just seeing like the fourth partially bald government official say like this is a real problem that we're getting hacked vaguely.
Oh, what'd you think about the CGI? Because I thought it was really good.
Oh, I thought it was incredible.
Yeah,
for
I thought it was great.
I mean, it's been 18. It's just about 20 years, and it looks way better, honestly, than a lot of stuff we see today.
I agree. It's like it moves so fast, and like
it's like shockingly good.
There was like only one part in the entire movie where I was like, okay, that looks kind of bad. And it was just like a big wide shot of Shia LaBeouf like running through, like it was towards the end, like running through all the debris, and it just looked off. But like everything else looks pretty good.
But like again, like how crazy is that even with, I really think that like our eyes are adapting, or at least like the software of being people. Like we see so much CG, especially with like AI stuff. And we've seen it for so long that we can view those details and discrepancies like subconsciously pretty easily. It's pretty crazy that there's only one shot in that like was that noticeable for you. It never even began to take me out of it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you.
I also had the Autobots pulling up to Sam's house. I loved the earthquake gimmick of like the dad just continuing to think that was why the lights were going out and the house was shaking, as well as like the yard was being destroyed. I also loved his parents getting to meet Megan and just having the obvious reaction of, I don't know that they would put this in a movie today. Not saying that's good or bad. I just don't think they would have the mom being like, "You're gorgeous," and the dad like giving his son nucks.
Oh,
hard to say.
I thought that was amazing. Like
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, no, maybe you're right that it wouldn't be today, but I just thought like we watched it twice because like you got to watch the dad too, because the dad like everything changes, his whole demeanor changes. He's just like he's like, oh, all right, yep, cool,
fired up for his kid.
Yeah,
he's like you're not grounded anymore either.
Yeah, he's like, my son's the man.
And then from there, jumping ahead, we get Bumblebee gets taken. We're now in Nevada. I loved the gimmick of building. I love anytime a movie or story uses an existing piece of like actual architecture to explain like, oh, the reason this is actually here was to seal away evil for a millennia. Yeah. I think that's just such a well done thing. Little bit of a nitpick I'm going to throw in here.
Go ahead.
Megatron, we're to believe, dethaws in a couple minutes with no like liquid nitrogen on him or whatever they're using to chill him. How did they bring him in the 30s to Nevada?
The whole
without this being an issue.
No, that's a great point. The whole Megatron being frozen thing is is I'm not sure about, but that's where I have to like just go. Okay,
I'm okay with it. Yeah, it doesn't take away from me whatsoever. That's just if I'm.
It's a great point. That wait, so you're saying because he was found in what Antarctica or the Arctic Circle or whatever?
The Arctic Circle.
How they transport him to Reno or wherever he is?
Yeah,
Area 51.
Yeah,
it's a great point. I mean, there's no way.
I mean, it's literally a desert. It's like one of famously like probably like the top 5 hottest places in the planet.
Maybe they just turned him on and he flew, and then
they're like, "Hey, just this once, okay, be cool."
After this flight, yeah.
You know, can I say my fun fact about Antarctica really quick? Yeah. Just because we're talking about it.
Sure.
You know why it's called Antarctica?
Why?
It's because Arctic just means bear, in I think like Greek or something, and so Antarctica means no bears, which is like the South continent. The Arctic Circle has bears. That's just the name of those continents. Well, I guess the North Pole isn't a continent, but the name is just derivative of if there are or are not bears there, which is kind of crazy.
Well, that makes sense. Like if you're going to like explore somewhere, isn't that all you really need to know?
Is bear or no bear? Not even temperature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so no polar bears in Antarctica, you're saying?
There's none. Famously.
What is down there then?
There might be penguins. I want to say there's penguins.
There's like, I know it's just like research facilities of people living on there, but like, is there any animals down there? I'm
you know
sure
what? You saying this, dude, we got to do the thing. The thing would be like the best pod for us to do. I love that movie.
Oh, I would love to do that.
You've seen it before, right?
Yeah, but for the first time in the past 2 years, I saw it.
Okay. Well, we'll earmark that. We have to get back to this separate movie we're talking about.
That's
right
okay.
Now.
We're making good time.
Yeah, I agree. I love the sequence of, I don't know why, but my brain never forgot the frame of John Voight breaking open the history case to get the shotguns.
Oh, yeah.
I love that whole sequence.
I just like him in it. He's just like the perfect kind of guy for this. Like,
he does a great job of it. He's like a really commendable like Secretary of Defense type in this movie.
And I like that there's even a department that he doesn't know about. You think he's top dog, and it's like, oh yeah, no, this was classified even for you to know about Megatron.
Well, you know, I touched on this earlier, but I do think one of the interesting kind of ways that this movie you could tell is aged is there's really no bad guys in the government in this movie. Like even John Turturro's kind of he's a little bit of a dick at certain points, but like he's not actually like a bad guy. He's just doing his job and he's kind of an asshole while he goes about it. But like everybody, there's no like corruption in this movie. There's no like, well, actually the reason they're mad is because we've been torturing this bot for technology. It's like, no, we just like use the technology for like air conditioning and like planes, you know?
Yeah.
Nobody's evil in this movie, and I think if this movie was made today, there absolutely would be the only options would be corporate interest. There would be like, oh, like we're like a contractor for the United States government or like military, and we're going to capture this guy for something nefarious or greedy, right? Or the other option would be the government themselves. But this would not work out this way.
The one thing that John Turturro does, which is a little evil, you know, but it's like, it just feels like there's something missing, like there's a scene missing or something. But like when he outs Megan Fox, he's like, oh, you were in juvie or whatever, or your dad's in prison or whatever. And then like Shia LaBeouf's like, you didn't tell me you were in juvie, you know? And like, it's like, but they didn't have enough going yet to like it's just, there's obviously was more like love story between them that got left on the editing room floor.
Yeah,
because it jumps like pretty quick. Yeah, it's like all of a sudden he's like, how could you not tell me that? You know? I'm like, what? Like,
I mean, there's not even really any scenes where they fall in love. Like,
well, they touch hands. They touch hands in the scene. Like when it's like they're at death's door, you know? So yeah, I agree. He
does more. Like if the cliche would be that there's a scene where it's like, oh my God, you saved my life. But it's like that happens twice and they're both times for men robots. Like he never saves her life. Actually, I guess he holds her hand when she's falling, but like, yeah, it's interesting how little that part of it is developed. And certainly all of Megan Fox's character.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then we have the huge fight scene in Nevada once they're like chasing the cube.
Yeah. I thought it
was good.
I thought it was great. Did you have bad, like more bad stuff to talk about? Because I think a lot of the stuff we just covered here is my great stuff. Like I think my favorite scene is him at the house with his parents and Megan Fox. But I mean, there's a ton of iconic scenes. You know, like
I think for me to touch on my like other highs that I liked, I would say let's get into some of the performances specifically because some of them are kind of just one-off scenes. Like and I had this coming up later, but like one of my favorite things actually about this movie on a rewatch that I didn't really recognize when I was younger and watched this is just how many little cutaway scenes there are in this, and like
Yeah.
almost borderline like Family Guy-esque flashbacks of things happening. Like when we get the flashback of like Sam applying or not applying, Sam trying out for the football team and just immediately getting wrecked and
Oh
having
yeah,
his
yeah.
mom get called, or Bernie Mac calling to his mom when he's at the dealership and her immediately flipping him off and saying he's gonna hit her in the head with a
That's
rock.
right. That's
Sam
right.
at the police station. That's like a 2-second scene, and that detective is like, "You eyeballing my piece, huh? Like, what do you
That's
want,
right.
Mojo?" And it's like his dog's meds, things like that. Like,
Right.
I think those were such interesting little flourishes on this movie that like I'm glad those didn't get cut, because I think it would have been so easy to, and you totally could have on a couple of those. But I think they're actually some of like the funniest parts of the movie, or like the entire sequence of oh gosh, what is his name? Anthony Anderson, who's the
Yeah.
hacker that eats all the
Yeah. Yeah.
donuts.
We're
Every
in
scene
the
he's in, fantastic.
Oh, another thing I have to say is growing up in that Northern Virginia area, the amount of people wearing Clinton Portis jerseys in
It was
2006,
real.
2007. Oh, yeah. So,
It
like,
was real.
bro, every single person had a Clinton Portis jersey. And that was like around the time when I think it was like Joe Gibbs came back to coach in like '05 or '04. Like, you know, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, so this is like the prime, like, Redskins are back. Let's go, Clinton Portis jersey. So, like, the fact that he was
So
wearing
funny.
that, it's just like, wow, this is authentic. I like it.
I guess if I was to say like my big call outs for, the obvious ones are Shia and Megan, and I think they're like very commendable in their performances, but I don't know
Yeah.
that it's doing anything crazy for me. I would say the murderer's row for me is, it's really Anthony Anderson
Yeah.
with the like the sequence of him eating all of the donuts
Oh, yeah.
as a head game, and then immediately the next scene that he's in, he just has a giant thing of Pepto-Bismol in the detainment center.
Yeah.
Or his brother running through, or his cousin running through the plate glass is
That was
so
the guy
good.
that was the guy from 8 Mile too. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Bernie Mac is tremendous, and then I think John Turturro, everything he's in, I just really enjoy.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, no, you hit the big ones. I'm on the same page.
I think Australian NSA analyst Maggie Madsen, again, a Michael Bayism to have a very attractive woman that just really doesn't have any depth to their character whatsoever. I guess the best counterpoint you can make is who in this movie has depth besides maybe not even Optimus. I'm trying to think which character has more than 2 dimensions to them.
Also, what were they doing? Like, it's like, hey, we got a new crop of analysts. Like, I just, the whole thing was confusing with her, with the.
Well, she's a new NSA agent, and also it's they're recruiting out of high school was an interesting line. It almost I almost thought they said it because maybe there was a chance there was going to be like a love triangle between her and Sam and Megan Fox, and it was like, okay, we got to find a way to make this legal,
Right. True.
I'm not convinced that wasn't the reason, I should say.
No, that's actually it could have been another thing that got cut in post.
Yeah. All right. What about you? Anything else on performances you want to call out?
No, I think you covered the big ones. I mean, we didn't mention about Shia LaBeouf as like, Shia LaBeouf was a big part of our childhood and like, film and TV viewing, with even Stevens and then Holes. I mean, Holes was a phenomenon.
Oh, it was huge.
And then Disturbia came out right before this movie, like 2 months before this. So I think people will who like only keep up with him now and are like, Shia LaBeouf, he's weird, like he has some weird movies, and they can talk about like the weird stuff he's done, where like he like people could like, or I don't even know if they pay, they could just like come in and like insult him in LA. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. They could do anything they wanted. They could like touch him. I think that was part of it.
Yeah, he's just he's like he's into the performance art. I don't think he's like completely off the rails. I think he's just like he's an artist, and he's like when he was like super high on the Fast Times at Ridgemont High audition. Do you ever see that?
No.
Well, like he was doing Jeff Spicoli, and he got like super blazed for it. It was like Morgan Freeman and like Brad Pitt on like a Zoom call, and Shia LaBeouf is just like on another level of like trying to play this character, and everyone else is just doing a table read, So people know Shia LaBeouf for like that kind of stuff, but like he really was like, we like grew up with this man. We saw him in Even Stevens, we saw him in the big movies, big blockbuster movies, and then when we grew out of it, he grew out of it too. It kind of it's interesting.
Yeah, he definitely has solid comedic timing. He definitely had that from Even Stevens, and people just knew that of him. I do feel like after this movie, there's a couple roles where like I think it was like Lawless with he and Tom Hardy, and then even Fury which I thought was a pretty deeply flawed movie. But I think Shia LaBeouf is like actually I think he's a really solid dramatic actor too. He's not in a ton nowadays, and I think he's had some serious, I don't know if legal trouble, but like I think he's had some notoriety that honestly I haven't followed a ton, but I think that's impacted him being in movies as much recently.
Yeah.
But at least, I mean, just speaking to his performances, I feel like he's actually always been a pretty solid actor, which is a little surprising given, most child actors do not have that path.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I thought he was good at Megalopolis. I liked him.
Yeah, I actually thought he was good in Megalopolis.
I mean, he's playing a despicable part, and yeah, I'm not saying it's the best movie, but he does it like really well. He really nailed that part.
Aubrey Plaza, I think, is one of the best parts of that movie.
Oh,
I think she's actually good in it.
There's a lot of good performances in that.
John Voight's in that too.
And I think John Voight does good in it. He's off the wall, ridiculous, but like that's obviously what Coppola told him to do.
Man, to be a fly on the wall, I wonder how much John Voight and Shia LaBeouf have interacted since this movie came out. So for them to then be, almost 20 years later in Megalopolis, I would love to be sitting in the room while they're catching up about Transformers.
Yeah.
You think Adam Driver's like, hey guys, would you mind telling me a little bit about what that was like? I mean, it's not like, Adam Driver was probably the age to care about Transformers when it came out too.
Oh, maybe you'll see him walking down the street. You'll be able to ask him,
that's the sort of stuff I want to be able to ask on the sidewalk. Just like, hey, no one's thinking about this, but
yeah.
So that's how I'm not doing this for clout. I'm just doing this because I'm obsessive.
Yeah.
Favorite shot. I wouldn't say this is a movie famous for its shots. I wouldn't say that's Michael Bay's strong suit.
I mean, it's the hood, the hood of the car, right?
The hood is the most iconic. Absolutely. I would say my favorite personal shot, I guess. I think the explosions at the army base at the beginning are concussive enough that I thought they were really cool. Also, the handful of borderline the B-roll shots of the Air Force carriers, and then the F-16s or whatever the jets are that are flying in. I think there are some cool aerial shots as well.
Oh, also when the Decepticon Scorpion guys launching out of the sand,
Mm-hmm.
I remember that from the trailer, and it's just him behind and the soldiers running at full speed. That's a pretty cool shot.
Yeah, the garbage truck with the crane transforming mid-highway. Very cool.
Right. Yeah.
God, how did they do this in 2007? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was some high-level stuff.
All right. Now do you want to talk about some of the lows or nitpicks you might have?
Yeah. You want me to go through a list of mine, or
let's
how do you want to do this? All right, let's do that. I don't have a ton, but I mean the product placement's tough.
I have that too.
Yeah, it had a big budget. I assume that's what happens. But yeah, General Motors.
Which ones did you clock?
The one I clocked the biggest was Furby. That was rough. It was just a 2-second shot of a Furby on the back of a truck, and I'm like, oh, because of Hasbro. Got it.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's a good one.
Yeah, I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, bye Furby. Cool.
Okay. Obviously the cars. My biggest one was the Burger King sign behind Megan Fox.
Well, and eBay. Silly. I mean, eBay is at the forefront of the story. He was trying to sell the glasses on eBay. They were a sponsor.
I don't even think of that as product placement because eBay feels so ancient. But at the time, for sure, people were still ripping that.
Well, it was, yeah. General Motors, Burger King, and eBay were the biggest sponsors they had for this. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
But yeah, I did think the Furby one was funny. I think the fact that Air Force One has a data center was a little bit of a stretch. Did you clock that?
Honestly, it might. I bet it has. I mean, that looked like a full-on on-prev data center. That's a great point. I'm sure they have servers in there, but not like that.
I would hope they're in the cloud by now, and it's real secure.
That's a good point. I'm stuck in the 90s.
I forgot about the scanning thing. For some reason, I don't know why I didn't like that as much. Where they could just scan into any vehicle. I thought they were just Optimus Prime was that truck. So what kind of bothered me is he started off in robot mode, then he scans the truck, and then he's when he's a robot, he looks like the truck still. So I'm so you could just scan to anything, and then it changes the robot form. What's their base form?
I think it shows their base form when they first land for a second, and it's almost kind of more human shaped. There's more rounded shoulders and things. It does beg the question of why don't you all do planes? Clearly, that is a better option.
Yeah. I have one other thing, but I don't know if I should do it. There's only one Autobot who dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
does it have to be the black guy? Why does it have to be the black guy? I mean, I think that's the tip of the iceberg for that character. He also dies horribly.
And he's also the most cliche voice. I'm like, oh, come on.
Oh, yeah. The whole thing of... Also, his name is Jazz.
His name is Jazz,
Having
and
the one black character or black Autobot named Jazz.
it's like so unnecessary. Like it's like the battle's over, and Optimus Prime's like, Jazz is dead. I'm like, what? Like,
Also, it's great because like at the end, it's such a like Optimus is put forward to be so honorable and the perfect leader,
Right.
and he's just like giving a speech with two halves of his friend torn in half, and he's like, "We will remember him." But don't worry, we made new allies today. It's like, that's not what I would want you to say. If I got ripped in half, I wouldn't want you to just hold my corpse and be like, yeah, that's all right. But like, we made two friends and we've known them for 6 hours. So it's pretty much even.
Yeah, I know. Optimus is pretty cutthroat, actually. Like he's like, even with Bumblebee, he's like, just leave him. Like, it's like, he doesn't even have to think about it. I'm like, all right.
No hesitation out of that guy.
No, but the thing about Jazz, though, I did look it up, and he is a character from like the 80s, too. And he did also talk like that in the 80s. So I'm like, all right, okay. But it's like, he has to be the one that dies. All right, come on.
Yeah. I mean, I like that their explanation is like, oh, we learned your language from the internet and the radio. And it's like, okay, like what chat room are you on, Jazz?
Oh, here's another nitpick that you just reminded me of. When they're under in that super concealed like lower bunker with like 4 slabs of football field concrete, whatever, you know, when they're somehow Bumblebee's radio's working and he's talking through the channels still. And then there's a whole scramble of, we got to find a radio, we got to contact whatever. It's like, Bumblebee's is working. Like,
right there. He's right there.
I don't know how he's working it, but maybe ask him. I don't know.
Okay, I will say, counterpoint to the tech thing, I kind of like that because all of like in some science, there's some sci-fi movies when like there's extraterrestrials and we're able to hack something. It's like, this wouldn't make any fucking sense for us to be able to like get into their shit because we have completely different technology. Right. I kind of like the idea, like, or at least I'm willing to give it more leeway on stuff when it's like, oh, all of our tech is based on them, so it kind of makes sense why it would be influenced by, or they would be able to interact with it.
Right.
I'm with that. I'm not saying they deserve that pass, but I like it personally. I'll give it to them on certain stuff.
Yeah.
Doesn't explain the radio thing, but what was the nitpick? Oh, I had a couple nitpicks on kind of the same one. The sabotage bot leaving Air Force One when it just kind of like cartoonishly walked. I gave it a little bit of a pass because it was kind of self-aware enough to have him walk like a cartoon character, right? Like it knew it was being silly. So I'm okay with it, but I think it would have been noticed. I think somebody would have seen this thing.
I also forgot how much of a jerk that guy is, man. Dang, he really screws everything up, you know? Like, he's a real menace.
Oh, he's terrible. Yeah, he's honestly probably the most effective robot. Here's a hot take. Would it be better if the Decepticons were exclusively little robots? It seemed like they were doing way better. Yeah,
it seems like all they really needed was that data, and just like you guys send one guy to go get it, you know? I mean...
also, Bumblebee couldn't lose Sam as a tail when Sam's on a bike and Bumblebee is Bumblebee.
That's right.
It almost seems like he wanted to get caught.
He probably did. He's probably tired of hiding, you know? He wanted to come clean.
Okay, and I guess the one last thing I'll call out as like a mini scene that I liked, I actually really enjoyed that they had in the guitar fight, like in that village the kid brings them to, having to talk with the telephone operator to get the credit card number. For it was funny. Good. I thought it was good. It was a nice gimmick. And
it's to your other point about the cuts, you know, like that first cut to that guy, that operator is funny, you know.
It's a good mixture of like, it's never just like so over the top action-y.
I agree.
Slow-mo-y. Like they have a good high and low with that.
I agree with that. I had one more thing that I didn't mention. I can't believe I hadn't mentioned it. You did a bit, but Linkin Park. So Steven Jablonski does a score. No, I don't want to distract from that because it is a great score. This is like a good studying score if you're looking for one. Very atmospheric, and it is great. But what I've done, 2007, is actually handpicked by Michael Bay for this movie's final scene. And it's actually the credit scene, and it comes on the radio a little bit earlier.
Yep.
And they actually, I think they worked with Bay to get like a track that fit for this. So this was like Linkin Park being interested in being part of this, Michael Bay knowing about Linkin Park, wanting them, and then obviously in 2009, New Divide was like written specifically for Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. Like that was. Linkin
What
Park.
I've Done wasn't made for this though, right? That was a separate song.
I think it was probably on the Minutes. I know it was on the Minutes to Midnight album, which came out in the same year. And I bet they just they worked together to decide that it was going to be the one to use, you know.
Okay.
But New Divide was like they sent Linkin Park like footage of the film, and they like tailored the lyrics to that. Like they actually wrote that song for that second movie.
Wait, I'm looking this up. What I've done was written specifically for Transformers.
Bang, there we go.
I would not have thought it was the lead song for Minutes of Midnight, but it also served as this. Wow.
Well, so okay, yeah, that makes sense. I know New Divide was. I didn't know that about what I've done, but yeah, I mean, you can't talk about 2007, 2008, you know, without thinking about Linkin Park. So I'm glad we snuck that one in.
Yeah. Any questions on this? Any or hypotheticals?
No, I don't have any, but you had some, right?
Yeah, I already asked the one about Megan Fox and what she meant for you. I have two others. First,
Okay.
what do you think led the Witwicky family from having someone as sick as Archibald Witwicky to now living just a few generations later in an upper middle class suburb in LA? What made them so lame?
Yeah, I mean, I assume that they didn't have a whole lot of wealth to pass down. There doesn't seem to be a lot of money in Antarctica exploration.
I guess also I did forget Archibald apparently went crazy afterwards.
Right. Well, actually, no one believed his story. He said he saw a giant Iceman, and everyone they said, "Oh, he's crazy." He became like the town fool, you know?
Okay. Here's my real question,
Okay.
and I want you to take your time to seriously give an answer for this.
Sure.
Who do you think Optimus Prime would have voted for in the 2024 election? Because I don't think it's as obvious as anyone would assume.
I think he's probably a Trump guy.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why do you think so?
Well, first of all, he drives around a big truck, gas guzzler.
Okay. That's a good starting point.
But I guess Trump's into EVs now, isn't he? I don't know. I haven't really been tapped into politics recently.
Okay.
So I couldn't really speak to that. But also, like, he's pretty cutthroat. Like he like we were talking about earlier. You know, he wants to leave Bumblebee behind. He's like America first, space first. You know. Oh no, but he's also about humanity and saving the humans. Ooh, this is a tougher question.
He has some humanitarian traits. Like he's willing to get hurt in order to protect, you know, what could be collateral damage.
You're right.
When he's in fights.
Well, give me your pick. I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
I think he would have voted for Kamala. I think that it could have gone either way, though. I mean, think of even the name Autobots versus Decepticons. Like, Autobots is clearly stemming from wanting to act autonomously and having freedom. Mm-hmm. I could see Prime getting tricked because he's clearly older. I could see him getting tricked on Facebook into seeing some AI generated stuff and being like, our democracy is about to fail if we let any more immigrants in. And I think I could see Optimus being in the libertarian funnel because he's very about freedom. He's very, very big on freedom. So I think he could have gone for it.
I think that's fair. And you think
as a concept?
And who do you think Megatron would have voted for?
Oh God, I don't think he votes. He's not into civic duty. He's not even saying he's voting for someone else. I think he just doesn't participate.
Probably voted for Kanye or something.
Yeah, something truly out of pocket. Okay, do we want to say our final thoughts here?
Yeah, that's
conclusions.
Yeah, you want me to go first? You want to go first?
You got it.
All right, so I mean, I think this is the highest score I've ever given a movie with like this much foolishness, you know. And that's the only way I can sum this up is that I'm breaking my usual criteria. Like everything about this movie says I should give it a 3.5, but I'm giving it a 4 because of its impact, of its memorable scenes, of its great music, of its great action. You know, of seeing it, the experience seeing it in theaters. I mean, it paved the way for movies about toys. It created our modern sex symbol in Megan Fox. It was tied into the success of Linkin Park. And it's just a great 2000s blockbuster with great CGI. And for that, I think it earned its 4-star. What about you?
Respect. I'm gonna zag a little bit here.
Okay.
I'm gonna get. I think it's like a firm 3 out of 5 for me. I think it does a lot of things really well. Like we mentioned, the CG, the practical effects of the explosions, has like a surprisingly large and successful ensemble cast, I would say. But there's enough like little things that have like aged it, like the douchebag boyfriend sort of vibe. Even like I don't have any regret. I mean, I don't want to speak on Megan Fox's behalf, like it fucking like she gives a shit. But even just like the mini skirt, white belt, like the things she's wearing at the like, there's just a lot of little silly things like that, or even like how much it feels like it is for sure like a recruitment marketing piece. I mean, like they famously partnered with the military more than almost any other blockbuster prior. Like Bay was given access to shoot and like walk through like actual military bases
Yeah.
and like be, and I think some of that can be cool too. I mean, like I enjoyed Top Gun Maverick, and they certainly did similar stuff. um but I think this was like a 3 out of 5, but it's a 3 out of 5 that I would honestly watch again, and I would still recommend. I just think for some of those artistic purposes, I can't. I would have a hard time justifying giving it a score of like some of the other stuff that I find more meaningful than this.
I think that's fair. I mean, it's hard to not like it's hard when something is meaningful. Like this, I feel the same way about Spider-Man 3. It's hard to be critical of that movie because it was such a big part of my childhood, and that came out the same year. So this is just like the prime time. This is like Dark Knight. Actually, that came out maybe the next year, but like this is just the prime. And I just as much as I'm all about following a rubric and a scorecard, this one just has to get an exception.
Okay, I love it. All right, I think we can end this one there. So I will say, if there are any other movies that you all would like for us to discuss, please feel free to leave them in the comments. We've done at this point, I think about 20 of these, so we have a good backlog going of different movies we've talked about in the past that you can see in our end credit sequence. But John, anything else you want to end us with?
No, that's it. I'm good.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks for the time again, everyone, and we'll be back soon.